And welcome everyone, as the bells ring outside, to the Main Street Sports Show, sponsored by Redbank Chevrolet, live from the Haskell House in downtown Clarion and on exploreClarion.com. I'm Owen Krepps, your host, and we're joined by our third ever co-host here, Dustin. How you doing?
I guess that just tells you can't find a guy to stick
I
with
know,
you, right?
it's no permanence here.
I'm doing well. Actually, it's really exciting to get back in to some things here with exploreClarion. I've been a part of basketball and football for quite a while with them here, and life has just gotten in the way with family and stuff, but it's really exciting and good to work with you for the first time here tonight
absolutely.
as well.
We have a special guest coming up. The Keystone boys basketball longtime head coach Greg Heath will be joining us later in our interview segment. But as of right now, let's jump into kind of our new opening segment, and that is the Today in Sports type of thing. It is late January, early February, so today in sports we're getting a lot of Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Anniversaries of Super Bowls. So the ones that I got here, we got a couple Broncos ones. One where they lost, one where they won. In the '81, the Raiders beat the Eagles 27-10 in Super Bowl 15, and then in '87, the Giants beat the Broncos in Super Bowl 21, and then in 1998, the Broncos won the Super Bowl 32 over the Packers 31-24, all on this day in history.
And talking about Super Bowls, and you see that a lot at this time of year. It's funny, you get to mid-January or so, and you see on this date in history, and it was Super Bowls, the single-digit Super Bowls and the teens Super Bowls, and then you start getting into ones in late January that are on those Super Bowls 20s and 30s, and it makes me feel old because I do miss the days of the Super Bowls being in the late January time frame. It feels like it takes forever to get to a Super Bowl anymore. Now that you have the 17 games, 18-week NFL season, you combine that with the
Pro Bowl
week off. Well, the Pro Bowl week, that week off that started, that's been quite a while now. It feels like every year, it used to be late January, and then it's that first weekend in February. Now, what are we this year? February something.
It's late 10th, February, in Vegas. And the weather has started to, I don't know if that's new with it, but the weather's always been something you've had to adjust to in NFL games. But now that we're further into the depths of winter, we're getting these games like we had in Buffalo and last weekend with the Steelers, where you got just a lot of crazier weather because the season's not wrapping up as quick.
Yep. Yeah, and it's, I love that type of thing. I love the weather playing a factor into it. It makes it a lot of fun, and you can get that at any time of year. But you're exactly right. The deeper you get into this January month, the more the weather's going to play a factor with the Kansas City. It seems like Kansas City every year has a game where there's sub-zero temperatures and dealing with extreme cold, and Buffalo ends up with 2 snow games.
Also on this day in sports history, the first ever Winter Olympics were started. At least recognized Winter Olympics were started in 1924. How big do you watch the Olympics?
Yes and no. I love curling.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
I don't know how you can't love curling.
Yeah.
And actually, we were talking hockey before we started tonight. Actually, I love Olympic hockey. I think there's
I used to when the NHL got to play it.
But it's just something different about Olympic hockey. It's, some of the rules that are different that make it a little bit better, and there's just a level of play.
Just, best on best.
Which makes sense because, we can play for Stanley Cups and we can play for those local things, but you're playing for gold medals, and that doesn't happen very often.
It's sad that Connor McDavid, who's played junior hockey up in Erie, has never played for Team Canada in the Olympics because the NHL won't let him.
Well, he didn't get a Sidney Crosby.
He didn't get a Sidney Crosby golden goal moment like he did in 2010. It bums me out seeing some of the players that could be playing international hockey but isn't. But we'll take a short break here real quick. But we'd like to thank, of course, all of our sponsors, Redbank Chevrolet. Like I said, today we have an interview with Keystone boys basketball longtime head coach Greg Heath coming up. And then when we get back, we'll be doing just some general sports recap from the local, national, and regional level. And that is all coming up from the Haskell House and on exploreClarion.com. It's the Main Street Sports Show.
Hey Julie, nice deck. Did you get that at Tio Nesta Builder Supply?
It's Tio Nesta Builder Supply, and yes, Dave, I did.
Wonder if they sell siding and roofing at Tio Nesta Builder Supply.
It's Tio Nesta, and yes, Tio Nesta Builder Supply has that too. Come on, Dave. You've never been there? They have 2 showrooms for anything home improvement. Mom got a custom kitchen there. Bill down the street got the materials for his garage. They have this awesome website, www.tionestabuilders.us. You can buy online. They really have everything for the home.
Wow, I'm heading over to Tio Nesta. I know. Tionesta Builders.
Tionesta Builders Supply Home Improvement Center, family owned and operated since 1958, with locations in Tionesta and Shippenville.
That sounds good. I'll check them out online at tionestabuilders.us.
No matter how cold it is outside, you can keep warm and toasty inside with a built-in-the-USA super efficient furnace from Luton's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Affordable, quiet, and reliable. You can count on your furnace from Luton's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Dubrook, a division of M&B Group, is your trusted local ready-mix supplier for residential and commercial projects. Dubrook provides a full line of decorative concrete, as well as concrete supplies, along with a variety of concrete tools and accessories. Dubrook can provide services large or small for residential and commercial projects to contractors or homeowners. Dubrook is here to provide you with options and ideas to make planning your next project simple. Let Dubrook help you with the supplies you need to get the job done. Dubrook is proud to support our local communities with plants in Clarion, Du Bois, St. Mary's, Butler, Evans City, Bradford, and Meadville. Call 1-844-382-7665.
Hi, my name is Jason, and welcome to Sweet Basil. Come on in.
Welcome back to the Redbank Chevrolet Main Street Sports Show, live from the Haskell House and on exploreClarion.com. I'm Owen Krepps, and I am wearing 2 different pairs of socks. We're going to be discussing just general sports news right now. Regional, we'll start at the national level, okay. National Football League. We talked a little bit about that earlier. Conference championship games are coming up. Only 4 teams remain. Who do you got winning the Super Bowl?
I really like the way the Ravens are playing right now.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be the Ravens. I'm just not a big fan as a Steelers fan and a Western Pennsylvania guy.
Yeah.
I don't like it, but I think the way they're playing is – this is my favorite Sunday of the season when it comes to
conference
the
championships.
I love the conference championship weekend. Super Bowl weekend is too much. That game just doesn't appeal to me as much. I really enjoy and it's a lot later, and I get tired. But the 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock timing, I really like Conference Championship weekend. It's a fun weekend.
I love the Lions right now just because it's a fun story, and they haven't won since I've been alive until now.
Yeah.
And, for them to go on the run that they're going now, I know a lot of people from Michigan, too. And, it's heartwarming to see them do it. But I think they might be the worst team left, though. But anything can happen. I just don't want the Ravens to win, and I would prefer to not see a Kansas City Super Bowl again because I'm already kind of sick of that. So,
no, I agree. The Lions are, if I've got to pick a horse for in the race, it's the Lions without a doubt. They're the easy team to root for right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I like the way the Ravens are playing.
Moving on to the NHL, my strong suit, the Penguins the other night. Do you know where I'm going with this?
Own goal.
Chris Letang. Sort of, I think Gino touched it last, but delayed penalty, so Jari was out of the net. And you pull your goalie because if the other team touches the puck, then it's just stoppage of play. It's a smart tactic, but it's not smart when Chris Letang blindly back passes the puck to Evgeny Malkin, who was crossing past the goal mouth, and he juggled the pass, and it went in the net. And it wasn't like it was 3-0 Penguins. I think it was 4-2 at the point.
Yeah, they were down a goal. 3-2. I think they were only down a goal.
And then, they lost.
Had a power play coming with that.
And they lost to the Arizona Coyotes, who are currently playing in a stadium that is about a college level. It is a college stadium. So that was nice. I thought it was funny at the end of the night. We'll forget about it, like the result of the game, but like the goal itself as a blooper was kind of funny.
When I saw that, the first thought I had, because I grew up in the era of Mike Lang calling games,
Yeah.
and really always loved listening to him call them, and I always remember on radio or television broadcasts of games, he would always say with a delayed penalty, "Ooh, be careful with that one," and he would constantly call it. And I don't know that it ever happened as he called a game with that own goal, because it doesn't happen very often.
No.
But it happened to the Penguins.
It happened. As soon as you said Mike Lang, I'm like, oh, I wish he was still broadcasting because I would have loved to hear his call on that. Like, yeah, it was rough. But
should the Penguins make a coaching change before you move on to it?
Not right now.
Okay. They'll win a Stanley Cup if they make one, though. That's the history.
The last 2 Penguins Stanley Cups have been a result of a midseason coaching change. Dan Bylsma and Mike Sullivan.
Yep.
I don't know who you hire though, because
no
one's really out
Somebody
there.
in the
But
system
the Islanders just made a coaching change. They hired Patrick Waugh, who is a character, and it's good to see him back in the NHL. But I don't know, coaching change right now. I think the Penguins are still going to try and fight for a playoff spot. They're not going to trade Gensel at the deadline. They're going to just try and hold on to whatever they got. They don't really have a window. It's been closed since 2018, but they still think it's open.
Lock it in right now, yes or no? They making the playoffs?
No, the East is too tough. And if they do, they'll get cooked in the first round. They'll get a New York or a Carolina, and I love the Penguins. I love watching them win, but they're just not that team anymore.
My June's going to be open, no Stanley Cup.
Yeah, your June's going to be open.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Sabres and Blue Jackets aren't making it either. So, moving on to the Pirates. The Pirates did something, and they spent money. Aroldis Chapman, is that how you say his name? Yep. $10.5 million 1-year deal. Pirates did something. They spent money. That's on my analysis.
Yeah, I keep seeing people talk about, but he's past his prime. If we would have gotten the Chapman of 3 years ago or something like that. You look back at his numbers from last year and the year before, they still aren't bad. I mean, it's a couple strikeouts an inning. He's still hitting over 100. I mean, it's not a bad pickup. And we discussed this already. Is that a $10.5 million that they end up just trading at the midpoint of the season? But if it is, so be it. And pick up a couple of guys if you can. Now, a guy on his way out, a rental player type of thing, may not get you a lot, but whatever it is, as long as there's a purpose to what you're doing, it's put him combined with Bednar in that bullpen, and that's not too bad of a Pirates looking back end of the bullpen.
It makes me happy just to see the Pirates making an attempt. That's all I have to say about it. And then moving on real quick to the Steelers, a couple news and tidbits. They are keeping Terrell Austin as their defensive coordinator. They re-upped him for 2 more years. Defense wasn't necessarily the problem this past year. Still looking for an offensive coordinator. I know the Madden playbook inside and out. Hire me, Pittsburgh Steelers, possibly. Also, Joey Porter and TJ Watt have been hired. They've been nominated for awards, both Defensive Player of the Years, but Joey Porter's case, Rookie Defensive Player of the Year. So, well-deserved there. Not much to talk about there, but good for him.
On the offensive side, I just hope you got to get somebody innovative in there. I'd like to see something fresh, somebody young.
Ben Roethlisberger?
No.
People were saying that after they fired Matt Canada. I was like, let's put Ben Roethlisberger in there.
That makes
and see
sense.
Yeah. And then do you think TJ will bring home his second consecutive defensive player?
I think so.
know.
He just seems like the guy that causes more problems.
He does, but everyone's Myles Garrett. But when you look at the numbers, Myles Garrett's not even close to TJ Watt. So it's interesting. A couple other things I wanted to mention, just local sports-wise. Went to 3 games this week so far. I went to Clarion, Redbank boys basketball on Monday. That was a great game. We had the broadcast on that one. Both of those teams look really good, simply put. Deep teams that can make baskets, simply put. So that was a fun broadcast. We'll look forward to seeing those teams down the line. On Tuesday, I went to Clarion and Curwensville girls basketball. That was a little bit of a lopsided affair. It was senior night for Clarion area, so I think they won by like, it was. And then yesterday I went to North Clarion versus Cranberry boys. That was a close game for the first couple quarters, but then Cranberry kind of took control in the second half, and they took the victory there. North Clarion was really only playing with 5 guys because they were kind of playing short there. So what are your thoughts on high school basketball season, just in general this year?
This high school basketball season just sneaks up on you. The
Yeah.
end of it really does. And
locally,
we're starting to get, when you get to that mid-February time frame, that's the KSAC championships at Tippin. And so the next few weeks, and I can't keep it straight what games are league games and what games aren't this year with the structure of the KSAC.
That's my job.
But it's we're starting to get down to the grind on that last few weeks and jockeying for position for those KSAC championships. I had a chance to see Union and Clarion Limestone just last night, and that Clarion Limestone team, a big win, rematch of last year's District 2A championship game with Otto Eldred last Saturday, and they knocked them off. And then they got a big win over Union in that top four. I couldn't tell you if it was a league game or not, to be honest with you, but Union in that top four and a spot in the KSAC championship. CL's on the outside looking in. That's a big win for Clarion Limestone. League win or not, I'm not sure what it was. Either way, it's a big win for them. They seem to be playing some pretty good basketball.
We'll have more high school boys basketball coming up after the break. It's the Main Street Sports Show live on Explore Clarion from the Haskell House.
Clarion Forest VNA believes the emotional and physical well-being of a patient is enhanced by the patient receiving care in the familiar surroundings of home. Their staff of caring professionals work closely with physicians to administer quality care to meet the needs of each individual. As a pioneer in home health care in Clarion and Forest County, Clarion Forest VNA continue to grow to meet the community's need for in-home care, offering many different services and programs to meet the patient's need. Clarion Forest VNA, located at 271 Perkins Road in Clarion. Call us toll-free at 1-800-262-2118.
Welcome to 12 Series, a veteran-owned and operated company. Want to stand out amongst the crowd? This is the brand for you. They have apparel that ranges from cardio tanks and hoodies to sweat noggin covers. The apparel isn't just designed for the gym, it's designed for everyday life. Whether at work, the range, or at a family outing, 12 Series will turn heads. Find and like 12 Series on Facebook and Instagram.
Protect your home or business from all those sneaky pests. Give Hugh Henry's Pest Management a call at 814-316-1875 or check them out online at bugguy.com. Pest Management, where nature and technology meet.
Throughout West Central Pennsylvania, people are losing their glasses. Well, they haven't really lost them. They just don't need them anymore. Thanks to the amazing LASIK surgeons at Laurel Eye Clinic. Call Laurel Eye Clinic and schedule your free consultation.
Welcome back to the Main Street Sports Show, live from exploreClarion.com from the Haskell House, sponsored by Redbank Chevrolet. We're into our interview segment now, and we're welcoming on a very special guest, longtime Keystone everything, social studies teacher, boys basketball coach, and just a former player as well. Greg Heath joins us. Greg, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I wanted to start with just this season in general. Mm-hmm. How's the team looking? You're getting close to the playoffs, playoff push. Just what do you like from your team? And you said when we talked on the phone, it's just a young team that you're looking to steadily progress.
Yeah, it's a very young team. We had one letterman returning from last year, and so we knew it was going to be a struggle because I think the league this year is pretty senior dominated. There are the teams at the top returned, and some of them returned their entire starting lineups, and with having just one letterman back, there were going to be some growing pains, and there have been, but I'm very pleased with the progress that we've made. We've improved. We're starting to play some of these better teams much more competitively than we did at the beginning of the year, And it's been a difficult schedule too. We haven't played any patsies.
No.
The teams we've played are pretty good. They're at the upper echelon of the KSAC, and so I'm happy. We're making good progress, and their attitude's still good, which I think is great.
You talk about the youth of the team and how young your team is. There are 2 freshmen in particular that see a lot of time on the court, and Corsetti and Nellis. Have you been pleased with because there's talent. There's a lot of talent with those guys, but have you been pleased with their improvement in maturity? Because as you get to the end of the season, you're not a freshman anymore if you've played the minutes that they have. Have you been pleased with the improvement and maturity that you've seen out of them as the year has gone on and they've experienced varsity basketball?
I'm extremely pleased with both those young men, and they're 2 of the better freshmen that honestly that I've seen in a long time come up and play varsity basketball, and they're certainly not out of their element. They're in an unusual situation, I think, compared to other freshmen that may have played, in that, I've moved other freshmen up in the past, and they have played significant roles for us, but they haven't had to be the go-to guys. In this case, these 2 freshmen, there's been a lot thrust on. There's a lot of responsibility thrust on them. We need them to really produce for us every single game, and they've been fairly consistent. It's just, they're just terrific young men, and as with a lot of freshmen, they get frustrated pretty easily. They get down on themselves pretty easily, and there's times when you got to talk them off the ledge.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of 9th graders playing varsity basketball. But they've gotten a lot better that way. They're starting to. You can see the maturity's growing, and they're settling in pretty nicely. I couldn't be happy. They're just. I think they're sensational.
So we've spent some time talking current team this year, but in a career as long as yours has been, there's got to be a lot of time spent talking about the past as well. And I know, your playing days at Keystone, back when they had to get the ladder out and get the basketball out of the peach basket. But your playing days back then, and then going to Westminster and playing, didn't actually start as a teacher, right? You didn't begin your career outside of college as a teacher, correct?
I was an accountant for U.S. Steel. For a number of years.
So the question then becomes, what led you to the teaching profession? And usually, especially in that era, the teaching profession and the coaching profession ended up coming together there. So what transitioned you from the accounting field and that job into, and what was the draw, the appeal of that?
First of all, accounting was just boring me to death. I hated it. I really hated it. And then, I was working at the Oil City plant for U.S. Steel, and was doing pretty well there. But then they moved that plant. They moved the production down to Garland, Texas, and they offered me a job in Garland, Texas, a nice job. And I thought, I'm not uprooting my family to go do a job in Texas that I really don't like doing. And so I started some other accounting-related jobs, temporary stuff. And a man by the name of Jim McConnell, he was a former Keystone Girls varsity coach, had some pretty good success. And he'd asked me to come in and help with some of his teams. And I really, really enjoyed the experience. And the Keystone varsity boys job came open, and he said, hey, why don't you think about applying for that? And so I did. But he's really the one that I give credit for kind of pushing me in that direction, and I've just loved it. I really have.
1983, 84. What was it?
84, 85 was my first season. Yeah.
Okay. So looking back over that, that's a lot of teams and a lot of longevity in that time period. It didn't start with a ton of success, did it?
Oh no. First year, I think we won 2 games. Oh. The second year, 3 games. It was a learning process for the players, and it was much more of a learning process for me.
Yeah.
Understanding what was going to work at the high school level wasn't necessarily what worked well at the college level.
Yeah.
And and I learned that you have to adjust what you do based on the talent that you have. But I look back fondly on both of those first 2 seasons. I wouldn't trade them for the world. I love those kids dearly. They helped me become a better coach.
You speaking of loving those kids dearly, and well, I guess you were kind of forced to love one of the kids that you coached, and that's your son, Garrett. And he graduated, what, 2006 or somewhere in that time frame there. And, all-time leading scorer at the school and everything. What was that like, getting an opportunity to coach Garrett?
That was a great experience, and Garrett was pretty easy to coach.
Yeah.
He's not a real emotional kid back then. He's pretty easygoing, but there's certainly a competitive fire there, and I had to just remember that not to bring it home. Yeah. It stayed in the gym. When we were coming back home from practice or we're sitting at home, I wasn't going to criticize him. I wasn't going to critique how he played or how he practiced or anything. That was outside the limits when we were at home. I didn't cross that line. Tried not to.
The specific kids that you've had back then have now gone on to have children that you have gone on to coach again. How unique of a coaching experience is that?
It's great. It's great because you get to touch base a lot with their parents, who I really enjoyed as players, and you can always see some of the parent and the kid. You say, I remember when his dad did that. Things like it. It's really a neat experience, but at the same time, it does make you feel kind of old.
With all those years, I mean, I know you're the last one that likes to talk about it, but it's the victories. The number of wins is a big number. It's near 670 at this point, and you have no idea that it's that because you don't care that it's near 670. But I do. I keep an eye on what that looks like.
Well, thank you for keeping.
And I know you're also the first one to say that the kids are the ones that got you those near 670, and you're the one that got them however many losses you happen to have.
For sure.
But one of those really highlight milestone victories was 639, which was surpassing Don Stemmerich, longtime head coach at Union High School. I mean, that gymnasium's named after him. And I know you overlapped for a handful of years with Coach Stemmerich as well. How much did it mean you getting that victory, 639 in 2021, I believe it was, when Coach Stemmerich was still alive? He's since passed in April of 2023. How much did it mean, looking back now that he has passed, to have surpassed that while he was still living? And then I know the night, a couple of games after you had won number 639, when they surprised you at the game with Coach Stemmerich.
That was great. But yeah, and I've talked about this with you before. You know how much I love Stem.
Yeah,
I just love the guy. And early in my coaching career, when I had the opportunity to coach against him, I would always tell my JV coaches, pay attention, because you're going to learn something. And it did. It's just, I kind of tried to model some of the stuff I did after STEM, and just his demeanor on the court and how he got along with his players, and I just can't say enough about him. I think he's the best coach that I've ever been around, and I thought the world of him. Yeah.
So, on the topic of kids that you've coached here, as we transition back to that a bit, I got to lighten it up a little bit and ask. Owen wanted to know.
I wanted to know.
One-on-one. Garrett in his prime, because he had a chance to coach your son. Garrett in his prime, you in your prime. Who wins a one-on-one? And tell us how the game goes. Give us a little insight on.
Oh my.
Garrett's a shooter. You're gonna play him well inside. One-on-one, Garrett in his prime, you in your prime. Who wins?
Oh, Garrett. Garrett wins. He's got me by 3 or 4 inches. Arm length, he's got me by even more.
Yeah, he does. Just the wingspan is
crazy. And how I would try to beat him from the perimeter because I wouldn't be able to get much on him inside. But yeah, he was, he in his prime and my prime. I think I was pretty decent, but Garrett was really a special player. He really was very, very talented, and he had those long arms and a shot that's impossible to block. So, and just one of the better shooters I've ever seen at the high school level. Yeah.
Well, we're going to wrap things up here for our first interview segment. We'll be back again with more from Greg Heath, the head coach of Keystone Boys Basketball. That's all coming up on the Main Street Sports Show. You're sponsored by Redbank Chevrolet and live from the Haskell House and on exploreClarion.com.
Dubrook, a division of M&B Group, is your trusted local ready-mix supplier for residential and commercial projects. Dubrook provides a full line of decorative concrete, as well as concrete supplies, along with a variety of concrete tools and accessories. Dubrook can provide services large or small for residential and commercial projects to contractors or homeowners. Dubrook is here to provide you with options and ideas to make planning your next project simple. Let Dubrook help you with the supplies you need to get the job done. Dubrook is proud to support our local communities with plants in Clarion, Du Bois, St. Mary's, Butler, Evans City, Bradford, and Meadville. Call 1-844-382-7665.
Hey, Julie, nice deck. Did you get that at Tio Nesta Builder Supply?
It's Tio Nesta Builder Supply, and yes, Dave, I did.
Wonder if they sell siding and roofing at Tio Nesta Builder Supply.
It's Tio Nesta, and yes, Tio Nesta Builder Supply has that too. Come on, Dave. You've never been there? They have 2 showrooms for anything home improvement. Mom got a custom kitchen there. Bill down the street got the materials for his garage. They have this awesome website, www.tionestabuilders.us. You can buy online. They really have everything for the home.
Wow, I'm heading over to Tio Nesta. I know. Tio Nesta Builders.
Tio Nesta Builder Supply Home Improvement Center, family owned and operated since 1958, with locations in Tio Nesta and Shippenville.
That sounds good. I'll check them out online at tionestabuilders.us.
Welcome to 12 Series, a veteran-owned and operated company. Want to stand out amongst the crowd? This is the brand for you. They have apparel that ranges from cardio tanks and hoodies to sweat noggin covers. The apparel isn't just designed for the gym, it's designed for everyday life. Whether at work, the range, or at a family outing, 12 Series will turn heads. Find and like 12 Series on Facebook and Instagram.
Protect your home or business from all those sneaky pests. Give Hugh Henry's Pest Management a call at 814-316-1875 or check them out online at bugguy.com. Pest Management, where nature and technology meet.
Welcome to the Main Street Sports Show, brought to you by Redbank Chevrolet here at the Haskell House in Clarion. Folks, make sure you check out the Haskell House on Facebook. Follow there. Great photos from various events that are happening here. It really is the premier event hosting location in our area, so check out the Haskell House on Facebook as well. And all the sponsors that you're seeing on these commercials tonight as well, please make sure you get out, patronize them, and tell them thank you for their support of athletics and sports coverage here on exploreClarion.com. So we were talking in the last segment with Coach Heath, Keystone High School boys basketball coach, about that win number 639 is passing Don Stemmerich. I actually have a picture you're going to see here on the screen. This was from the night, referenced after he got that 639th victory. A couple games later, folks surprised Coach Heath with a visit from Mr. Stemmerich. Coach Stemmerich, the longtime boys basketball coach at Union High School with 638 wins there. Gymnasium's named after him too. And back in the COVID era and limited crowds and all that good stuff, but it was a really neat moment, I'm sure, and I wanted to make sure everybody that knew STEM got to recall him and see that picture there as well.
So you're not the only coach with a gymnasium named after you, but you are one of them. That was an experience all last year. Just tell me what that meant to you, and I understand you were a little hesitant about it at the start when you first heard it was going to be a thing.
Well, first of all, it's a great honor, right? I truly am honored by it. But yeah, I think my first response when I was told that was going to happen was, well, isn't that something they do for people that have died? It's a great honor, but with me, it's always been about the players. It's the focus should always be on the players, not on coaches. And I wouldn't have any success. I wouldn't have lasted 40 years if it wasn't for the outstanding young men that I have had the great honor to coach over the last 40 years. I love them dearly. They're like a second family to me.
Anytime you've been asked to talk about it, whether it's an interview with print media or on a radio broadcast or one of our broadcasts or the dedication ceremony or something like that, I know you always give the credit to players that have played. But one of the things that is really special about Keystone basketball is the consistency with your assistant coach. I mean, I know you've been around this for 40 years, but your assistant coach, Matt Clark, has been with you for a very long time. As a volunteer coach for a bit, and then as your JV coach, as your assistant coach for a long time. You'll see JV coaches that stick around for a little while across different schools here in the league, but more often than not, that's a cycling position. How important is it to have a guy like Matt Clark as your assistant coach for such a long time?
I'll say this first. I cycled through a good many JV coaches. I really did. And I had Bruce Turk did a nice job for a while. He had a stint with me. And then Bill Irwin was the JV coach right before Matt got the job. And they both did sensational jobs. But
I think Dan Reed was a JV coach for quite a while.
Yeah, he'll tell you about that if you ask him. Yeah. But Matt he's certainly the longest tenured JV coach I have. And I don't even view him as a JV coach. He's a second head coach.
Yeah.
He's a remarkable coach. He truly is. He's a great teacher of the game. A lot of the success that we've had over the last 20 years, I would attribute to him. You know, he's really developed the JV players well. I just can't say enough about him. He's just a terrific coach in his own right, and probably doesn't get nearly the credit that he deserves.
Does it ever almost creep you out to an extent how much you start to think alike, having been around each other for so long? Are there a lot of instances in which he's sitting on the bench, you're standing, something like that, and you each look at each other and say, maybe a certain substitution or a change we're going to make in personnel or timeout or go to this trap or this press or something like that?
That happens a lot,
an
awful lot. And it happens almost every game where something will be happening on the floor and Matt and I will both at the same time yell out exactly the same thing at the same time. And we're kind of like, in sync there for sure. We've I guess we've been around each other long enough, and he certainly knows the system well enough that he knows exactly what I'm thinking, and I kind of know what he's thinking.
Of course, given that you've coached for so long, we have to ask this obligatory question. Basketball, I'm sure, has changed a lot since you first started coaching. How have you seen the game evolve and change over the course of these past 40 years?
Biggest change was the three-point line. Back when I played and when I first started coaching, there was no three-point line. And I think it was a good change. I really think it helped clean the game up some, put more emphasis on the perimeter game. And when you have to push out to the perimeter, the inside game isn't so physical and ugly as it could be at times. So that was a huge change. In recent years, I think when I first started coaching, most teams played zone, a lot of zone. And my teams played mostly man-to-man. And I think that gave us a big advantage because I think some of the teams we played just weren't ready for that. But as it has evolved, I think the majority of the teams now are man-to-man teams as compared to zone teams. And the game has become, in recent years, more of a wide-open, free-flowing kind of a game. And I think that started maybe at the NBA level with the Golden State Warriors, and it's kind of trickled down through college and then to the high school level. But you see a lot more teams like that. You don't see teams really center their attacks around the dominant big man who has the great back-to-the-basket moves, although I've had a couple recent seasons where that was the center of our offense. But yeah, I think it's just the game's opened up a little bit more. Yeah.
As we talk a lot about your seasons and your time with your experience with basketball in this area, District 9 basketball, and then statewide, you've had some teams that have made runs in the state playoffs as well, won some district titles. I got to ask this question of you. Every year around this mid-February, well, once we get to mid-February, playoff time, there's always an argument, especially with social media. You see it a lot out there of boundary schools versus non-boundary schools. Most years there ends up being one of the Pittsburgh print media sources will end up with some sort of article, and they'll interview 2 or 3 public school head coaches. So I pose the question to you, with the understanding that I think we're all on the same page that the privates that we encounter a lot, like the Venango Catholics and the Du Bois Central Catholics and the Elk County Catholics, are, while still private and still open enrollment type, not necessarily talking about them as much as I'm talking about Kennedy Catholic bringing in Oscar Shibway and Maceo Austin 5-6 years ago, winning a state title in 6A, or Amani Christian last year in Class A doing what they did and having that team that just rolled through everybody to a state championship in A, and then everybody dissipates and goes across the country and plays. So after all that, simple question, is it a problem in the state of Pennsylvania, the boundary versus non-boundary schools having to compete in the playoff level?
Well, I'm glad you prefaced it with, I don't think that applies to schools in District 9. Yeah. I think our privates are, that doesn't apply to.
Great programs.
Oh, terrific programs.
I mean, if you're talking Aaron Straub at Elk County.
It doesn't get much better than what Aaron Straub's done at Elk County.
Yeah.
I mean, Aaron's terrific. But yeah, overall, I think it is a problem. It has been a problem for a long time. If you look at the number of public schools compared to the number of private schools in single A, double A in particular, there's a lot more public schools. But then when you look at the number of public schools versus private schools that make it to the round of 16, single A and double A, it's predominantly private schools. And there's, like you mentioned a couple situations. There's active recruiting taking place, and it just has been an unfair advantage. It truly has been. And I wish we would kind of go to something like they do in New York, New Jersey, where you have separate playoffs for the private schools and a separate playoff system for the public schools, and then you play the champions off against each other. Something like that might work, But yeah, it's been a problem ongoing, and I remember Dave Cook, the longtime coach at Mercer High School. Every year they'd run into like George Jr. They couldn't get past George Jr. and Dave would always say, "Well, at least we were the public school champions." So.
Structural question, another organizational one, comparable to this one, but it's been quite a while now since they made the change to 6 classifications in basketball. Looking back, it has created some smaller playoff fields in the district level, but it has created some opportunities at the state level especially for some of our local teams. Do you like the 6 classification setup in general for the sport of basketball?
I do. Yeah, I do like it. And I like it for the reason you just mentioned, that it does set up some opportunities for some of the local teams to go further than they probably would have under the old classification system. And it's not only true in basketball, but it's true in football as well. We've seen some of the local teams have great success in the state football playoffs. And we've had some teams that have made some decent runs in basketball in the state playoffs in recent years. So, yeah, I do. I'm a big fan of that six-tier classification system. Yeah.
Now, I know we've talked a lot about the glory days of basketball for Keystone in your coaching time, and I know a lot of your teams were born to run as well, Coach. But now we transition, I think. We've talked enough basketball, don't you think?
Yeah.
Probably time to transition to why you actually wanted to come here and talk. You love Bruce Springsteen. Like, that is the musician. You have been to, how many concerts of his have you been to?
I've been to 42 Bruce Springsteen concerts. After this summer, that will be 44.
So,
2 planned.
This guy, Coach Heath, not just basketball. Bruce Springsteen as well. I mean, it's
not just Bruce. I mean, I like that era of music. I really do. But certainly I haven't seen anybody else nearly as often as I've seen Bruce Springsteen. He's certainly my favorite. Yeah.
Is there a show that stands out to you in all of those shows that you've gone to see?
You know, probably the very first show where he hooked me, it was at the old Stanley Theater, which is now the Benedum. We had front row seats in the balcony, and just a high energy show, and I really thought that the balcony was going to crash down. It was just bouncing. Just a great show, and I was hooked ever since then. I think he's the greatest performer in rock and roll history. Just terrific.
Have you ever gotten a chance to meet him?
No, I haven't. And you know, and to be honest, I don't know that I want to.
No.
You know, because you know, I put them up here. You know how you put your heroes, your idols up here, and you know, and I don't want to keep it that way.
Right.
You know. Although I must say, if I had the opportunity to meet him, I wouldn't pass on it. Yeah. Although he's a pretty down-to-earth guy. Yeah.
We'll come back after a break with some more kind of different, neat questions for our number one Bruce Springsteen fan here. This is the Main Street Sports Show, sponsored by Redbank Chevrolet, and live from the Haskell House on exploreClarion.com.
Clarion Forest VNA believes the emotional and physical well-being of a patient is enhanced by the patient receiving care in the familiar surroundings of home. Their staff of caring professionals work closely with physicians to administer quality care to meet the needs of each individual. As a pioneer in home health care in Clarion and Forest County, Clarion Forest VNA continue to grow to meet the community's need for in-home care, offering many different services and programs to meet the patient's need. Clarion Forest VNA, located at 271 Perkins Road in Clarion. Call us toll-free at 1-800-262-2118.
Throughout West Central Pennsylvania, people are losing their glasses. Well, they haven't really lost them. They just don't need them anymore. Thanks to the amazing LASIK surgeons at Laurel Eye Clinic. Call Laurel Eye Clinic and schedule your free consultation.
No matter how cold it is outside, you can keep warm and toasty inside with a built-in the USA super efficient furnace from Luton's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Affordable, quiet, and reliable. You can count on your furnace from Luton's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Welcome to 12 Series, a veteran-owned and operated company. Want to stand out amongst the crowd? This is the brand for you. They have apparel that ranges from cardio tanks and hoodies to sweat noggin covers. The apparel isn't just designed for the gym, it's designed for everyday life. Whether at work, the range, or at a family outing, 12 Series will turn heads. Find and like 12 Series on Facebook and Instagram.
Hey, Julie, nice deck. Did you get that at Tio Nesta Builder Supply?
It's Tio Nesta Builder Supply. And yes, Dave, I did.
Wonder if they sell siding and roofing at Tio Nesta Builder Supply.
It's Tio Nesta. And yes, Tio Nesta Builder Supply has that too. Come on, Dave. You've never been there? They have 2 showrooms for anything home improvement. Mom got a custom kitchen there. Bill down the street got the materials for his garage. They have this awesome website, www.tionestabuilders.us. You can buy online. They really have everything for the home.
Wow, I'm heading over to Tio Nesta. I know. Tio Nesta Builders.
Tio Nesta Builder Supply Home Improvement Center, family owned and operated since 1958, with locations in Tio Nesta and Shippenville.
That sounds good. I'll check them out online at tionestabuilders.us.
Welcome back to the Haskell House for the Main Street Sports Show. We're joined by Greg Heath, Bruce Springsteen's number one fan. 2 more quick questions for you related to Bruce. Do you have a favorite song and or a favorite album?
Boy, that's so tough. Wow. I think the song that hooked me on Bruce Springsteen, and I'd heard some of his earlier work, Greetings from Asbury Park and The Wild Indian Street and the East Street Shuffle, but the song that really hooked me was Born to Run. I heard that and I was blown away. And it's still my favorite concert song. And I think for a lot of people that attend his concerts regularly, they would say the same thing. You know, the house lights come on and the place is jumping.
Yeah. So now we're going to get into our fan-submitted questions, and one that we just kind of all have been wondering. It doesn't even come from a specific person in a specific place. It's kind of just the community. Retirement. Have you thought about it? Do you want to think about it, or are you just taking it one day at a time?
I think I take it one season at a time. As long as I'm still enjoying working with the kids, and they're still willing to work and put up with me.
Yeah.
And I have the energy, I'm still going to continue to do that. Yeah. I still feel like I have the energy to do that. So.
This fan question comes from Dan. He's in suburban Wetlands Corners, that's where he's from. And Dan asks, Keystone's gym is named after you, but as far as traveling around, you played in a lot of different places. Is there a particular place that you enjoyed the atmosphere being? And that's open to any place. And then the second question would be, is there a particular local gym that you have been in dozens of times, hundreds of times probably at this point, that really stands out to you as being maybe a tough place to play over the years?
Oh, wow. Boy, that is a tough question.
Well, Dan's a great question asker.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. I think it really depends on the team as to how tough the gym is to play in. If you have teams that are really doing well, that tends to drum up their fan support. And it's the greatest thing for high school basketball is to play in front of a full house. And the place is just energized, and I don't care if it's a hostile crowd or it's a home crowd. It's just a lot of fun.
This next question comes from Luna and Marianne. You've been around basketball for a long time. I'm just wondering, or Luna is wondering, is there one thing about the rule book, about teams, about anything that kind of just irks you a little bit, that you wish they'd change, or you wish they'd go back to how it was, or are you pretty settled on how things are?
They've made various rule changes over the years that I thought have benefited the game. There isn't any rule that I really dislike. There have been calls I dislike. One of my pet peeves is, a kid has his foot on the lane line for 3 seconds. And he just has the edge of his foot on the lane line, and a referee calls him for 3 seconds. And I always yell out, that was not the intent of that rule.
Yeah.
So that bothers me, that kind of stuff. But really, I think the rule changes they made over the years have benefited the game. Now they've changed the bonus situation this year for free throws, and I really haven't heard a good explanation as to why that was done. And I'm not totally against it. It's just an adjustment. So.
Yeah, I was going to follow up what you were talking about there with the fouls situation, but for folks that have followed basketball this year, you notice a difference in the fifth foul in a quarter being those 2 shots. I mean, that strategically has to change what you do to an extent, doesn't it? I mean, because it's no longer put them on the line late in the game and one shot, potentially one missed shot, and we get the ball right back. It's automatic 2 and a much higher probability of at least a point.
Yes.
You're giving away to the other team by doing that, not an intentional foul, but fouling intentionally to try to gain an advantage.
And that's the part I don't like. I liked it with the old one-on-one situation because I think it brought more excitement to the game, and the players had to step up and make clutch free throws. You had to make that first one, and it put a lot of pressure on them. You got to see who could handle the pressure and who couldn't. So I kind of missed that aspect of it, and I'm still trying to get used to it. I'll look up at the scoreboard and see, we got 4 fouls on us, so we're okay. And then I'll think, no, we're not, because we get one more and it's going to be 2 shots. So
we're going to challenge you to a trivia night here.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to pick your brain on was, or sorry, did you want to ask one thing?
No.
One thing I wanted to pick your brain on, you mentioned when we were talking on the phone about how you're a huge history guy. I love history myself. Civil War is your mainstay of what you like the most?
Yeah, that's my favorite period of American history. Yeah.
So I wrote down a couple trivia questions, and I want to see if you'll be able to answer them. They're kind of easy.
I hope.
At least from what I said.
You remember, I'm 66. The brain's starting to go a little bit here. Yeah.
What was the bloodiest battle in the American Civil War?
As far as casualties, it was Gettysburg.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
the
that
3 days together would have been the bloodiest battle.
Yeah.
I believe the bloodiest single day battle was Antietam.
Yes, that's what I had marked down.
Yeah.
Now another follow-up I had to that is, you've been coaching for 40 years and you like American history. Have you seen anything in American history that you remember while you've been coaching, like specific moments, specific presidencies, specific moments in history through your coaching ages that you've been like, oh, that was back when he was president, or things like that?
One of the most stunning things that I remember in history would have been 9/11. It was just so shocking. And, I can remember almost every moment of that day. It comes back to me. I walking down the hall, and one of my students and players, Billy Caldwell, said, "Hey, did you hear some nut flew a plane into the World Trade Center?" I'm thinking, well, no, I hadn't heard about that. So immediately you go to the television, and the second plane hits, and you realize this wasn't an accident. We're under attack, and it was just so shocking. And I just remember that day so vividly. I'll never forget it. Yeah.
Well, to lighten the mood a little bit, we'll go back to another trivia question I had, but I guess it's not as light, but still. Just another trivia question. Which state had the most battles fought in it during the American Civil War?
Oh, boy. Wow. It'd have to be Virginia.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last one I had written down. Sorry. What was the result of the most deaths in the American Civil War? Like, what caused the most deaths?
Sickness, disease.
Correct. Yeah, and that's disgusting.
Yeah.
That was how it happened. But
they didn't understand germs back then.
Right.
They really didn't. So yeah.
Anything else you want to wrap up with?
Well, I was just going to say one last thing, and it's been a huge part of your career. You're 40 years as a coach, but also quite a few years in the classroom as well, at Keystone High School too. The memories of that, lots of students that have come through and lots of people that you worked with there, but it's a big part of your life as well. As you look back on that, you look back as fondly on those teaching days as you, of course, you're not done with the coaching yet, done with the teaching, having retired from that, but I assume you look pretty fondly back on those teaching days as well.
Oh, I love the teaching days. I love the classroom. You get to stand up in front of 25, 30 kids and entertain. That's a lot of fun. Just the interaction with the kids and all that. It was great. I didn't like the paperwork. I didn't like grading essays and all that stuff. But the interaction with the students was just fantastic. And with my fellow teachers, all the camaraderie and some of the hijinks that went on. I remember one year. Quick note. I was teaching up on the second floor, and I came back from lunch, and my desk was gone. It was just gone. And it was a heavy desk. And so I went looking for it, and here, Dan Reed, the football coach, had some of his football players take the desk out of my room and set it outside of the school. So just stuff like that was going on all the time.
Well, we'll wrap things up here. I want to thank you for coming on the show, Greg, and it's a pleasure to meet you in person, of course. I know you guys know each other, but thanks for joining us on the Redbank Chevrolet Main Street show.
Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We'll take our last break, and then we'll be back for one quick wrap-up segment.
Dubrook, a division of M&B Group, is your trusted local ready-mix supplier for residential and commercial projects. Dubrook provides a full line of decorative concrete, as well as concrete supplies, along with a variety of concrete tools and accessories. Dubrook can provide services large or small for residential and commercial projects to contractors or homeowners. Dubrook is here to provide you with options and ideas to make planning your next project simple. Let Dubrook help you with the supplies you need to get the job done. Dubrook is proud to support our local communities with plants in Clarion, Du Bois, St. Mary's, Butler, Evans City, Bradford, and Meadville. Call 1-844-382-7665.
Protect your home or business from all those sneaky pests. Give Hugh Henry's Pest Management a call at 814-316-1875 or check them out online at bugguy.com. Pest Management, where nature and technology meet.
And welcome back to the Main Street Sports Show, sponsored by Redbank Chevrolet, live from the Haskell House and on exploreClarion.com. It's time for the wrap-up upcoming sports segment section, where I read off basically what's going on now, tomorrow, and through the rest of the weekend going on in high school and collegiate athletics around the area. So, happening right now, we have wrestling. Clarion is at Brockway. Girls basketball, AC Valley is playing Carnes City at home. Clarion area is playing Limestone at home. And then Mike Kilroy is covering North Clarion versus Redbank. That'll be on Explore Clarion later. Tomorrow we have wrestling. Clarion area, will be at West Branch, and then Redbank will be at a Grove City tournament. Boys basketball tomorrow we have Keystone versus Venango Catholic, with Greg Heath in action tomorrow. AC Valley will be at Carnes City. Mike Kilroy will be covering that as well. Redbank will play North Clarion at home, and Limestone will play Clarion at 8. On Saturday we have wrestling. Clarion will be at West Branch, and Redbank will be at that Grove City tournament again. Girls basketball, Redbank will be at Otto Eldred at 2. And finally on Sunday, Clarion University will be at Edinburgh for a meet there.
Just a quick note there, we talked a lot of basketball tonight, and even in our local sports talk at the beginning there, talked a lot about the KSAC basketball, that the semifinals coming up in a few weeks, but that Central Clarion wrestling team has been seeing a lot of individual and team success this year as well. That co-op, it includes Keystone, a few Keystone kids, Clarion, North Clarion, various schools that are a part of that Central Clarion co-op, and it's been a nice season for the Wildcats this year, and so they're going to be an interesting one, both on the individual side as the month of February goes on, to keep an eye on how those individuals fare, and then also team-wise. So just as you see different stuff out there and get to read those recaps, make sure you check them out, because it's been a nice season so far for them. Absolutely, and this wraps up our 4th episode, but of course we will be back next Thursday. We have Baron Gorley, the head coach of Clarion Wrestling, that we just talked about. So he'll be joining us next week, so it'll be nice to pick his brain and talk about some wrestling there. But that'll wrap it up for the Main Street Sports Show, live from the Haskell House on exploreClarion.com. We want to thank Greg Heath yet again, Keystone Boys Basketball head coach, for joining us today. And we'll see you guys next week and all throughout the week for our many broadcasts.